Alrighty, how's everyone doing? So, thanks everyone for coming out. Super excited to be here. If you want to, how about you stand up and jump up and down 3 times? Just get your energy up. Just do it. You know you want to. Alright, ready? Let's just do it. 1, 2, 3. There you go. Wake yourselves up. Alright, so today I want you guys to ask yourself these 2 questions. First question is, who am I? Right, you guys have heard from Abraham and Taha, and by now, you know you're not your name. You know you're not your beliefs around where your religion is, whatever it is, right? That's not who you are. You're not your body, right? So really think about that. Who am I? And the second question, you guys, okay. Oh, you just changed all that, okay. The second question I want you to ask yourself is, why am I here, right? Why are you here? Well, you're here because, just like me, you want to experience more, you want to have more, you want to be more, you want to experience life to the fullest, right? You're not happy necessarily with where you're at, maybe it's okay, but you want to experience more, right? And with that, for me, it started out when I was 18 years old. I joined the Coast Guard. I went into the Coast Guard because I wanted to become a rescue swimmer. I wanted to be the person, I've always been someone who wanted to give and to help people. And I joined because I wanted to be those people's last hope. I wanted to be that person who, when they thought they had no one left, I'd be that person who pulls them out of the sea. And so I joined the Coast Guard. I ended up in boot camp hearing about how there was an award to become most physically fit on male and females. I was like, this is my opportunity. So I made a decision. As soon as I heard it, I told everyone, literally everyone on base knew that I wanted to be a rescue swimmer. And then in that decision, they made me work for it. No one knew what my goal was, but they knew I wanted to be a rescue swimmer. And as a rescue swimmer, as a lot of you probably can assume, it's kind of like the special forces of the Coast Guard, right? So it's extreme workouts and extreme conditions that you have to operate in. And so I ended up, through that period of time, working my butt off, literally sweating as everyone was getting ready for bed, having to sweat on the quarterdeck, and for an hour till I had a puddle of sweat below me. And then finally it came down to the time where I found out that I did get awarded most physically fit on a male and female, my boot camp graduating class. And that wasn't by accident. That was because I made a decision and I was willing to do anything to make it happen. I mean, I literally had to go through so many hoops, and I really had to prove it to themselves and myself. And I actually got really lucky when I got stationed. I originally had orders to Honolulu, Hawaii on a small boat, or it was actually a cutter. But they gave me an opportunity to work as a strength and conditioning instructor for the boot camp recruits, and where I got to then be trained by a former Navy SEAL, and now he trains Special Forces, actually. And so I ended up getting stationed there, and I worked with over 800 recruits individually. And on their physical fitness, when it came to the remedials and swim, all those different things, I was helping them and helping get through those mental blocks. Because a lot of you, as you know, most of our stuff is on mindset. It's 95% mindset and only 5% strategy. So if we want to get somewhere, we have to work on the mind. And each and every one of those people I worked with, I'll never forget this one girl. I was working with her, and she just was terrified of the water. I'm like, why did you join the Coast Guard? I was really confused. She's like, well, I really want to help and have these things, right? So she had the desire. She really wanted to be there. But she was terrified of heights and terrified of the water. So I had to really work with her and help break through those mental barriers. And at that time, I didn't know what I was doing, right? I was unconsciously helping her to reprogram her beliefs about herself and change her paradigm, right? Like what Taha was just talking about. She had to change her identity and what she thought about that thing. And through steps and through actually the things that we teach now, that I was able to help her break through that. And I'm happy to say I even made her prove to herself that she could do it, and that I actually made her do double what she was supposed to do. right? And again, that wasn't by accident that she was able to do it. She, one, made a decision. She was willing to do what it takes. She was willing to take every single step. You know, I went out of my way, of course, to make sure that she could do it and help her, but I guided her and helped her through it. But needless to say, through that experience, through that time, I became obsessed with the mind. I wanted to know why. Why was it so hard for some people to break through? Why is it so many people don't believe in themselves, right? And so I kind of, on my side time, started obsessing over personal development, understanding, and what makes someone's mind work, and what makes one person excel versus the other one. And it just really got me on this track. And I found Bob Proctor. I ended up going through, I'm not going to tell all of it because obviously I don't have a lot of time, but I ended up getting to the lowest point in my life. I got out of the military. I was earning over 6 figures as a personal trainer, water physical therapist, and USA swim coach, and I gave it all up because my husband almost died 4 times in a year. And that was the moment that we decided that he couldn't be in the military anymore. And so we ended up getting out and moved back to Colorado, where family, unfortunately, things didn't go according to plan, and we ended up in my parents' basement with a 3-year-old son. And in that time, I made a decision. I was like, I'll never forget. I ended up going from this high point, you know, I was really successful, had all these clients, working with these kids, loved it, to then I ended up being a receptionist at an assets and annuity firm, and where I was serving people cookies. And I remember serving this couple, and this man looks at me, he's like, oh, well, thanks for the cookies, why didn't you bring me a steak? And I remember just in my mind, I was like, I went from doing all these things, being in the Coast Guard and doing all that, and training all these people and making such a powerful impact, to now serving people cookies asking for steak. And like, it just hit me like a ton of bricks, and I was like, okay, I'm done. And it was actually, I feel kind of bad about it, because it was my stepmother-in-law's company and firm that it was for, but I walked up to her and I was like, I'm done, I'm over it, I'm not doing this. I'll put my 2 weeks in. And, you know, and she just looked at me just baffled. She's like, I can't believe she just said this. But it was because it was like that breaking point. That was my emotional impact, right? Taha was talking earlier about there's 2 ways to change, an emotional impact or repetition, right? A lot of times the repetition has to follow suit with the emotional impact, right? So for myself, I got really emotionally involved. My husband and I decided to create a media agency, and in that, and because I knew the future was media, so for prior to that, I spent thousands of dollars, lots of money, on marketing and learning to be able to make money online. And so I ended up using my GI Bill and going to school, and I actually ended up making more money by doing that, by getting basic allowance or housing to be able to get. And then January, so that was the summer, and then in December I made a decision, we need a mentor. And I wanted to have the best of the best. We kept thinking about, we're like, who would it be? And I kept going back to Bob Proctor, because Bob Proctor was a person that, when I was in the military trying to understand the mind, who I ended up learning a lot of that from. And so I made a decision that January, we were only on track to be making like $35,000 that year. And, you know, we just had started the company, we were just looking for clients. But guess what? It cost $35,000 just to go to the event, to be able to meet him, and then me to be able to go get mentored by him. But I was determined. And I told my husband, and everyone and their mother thought I was crazy. They're like, what are you doing? You just got on your feet, you just got a place. Like, what are you doing? You just got out of living with your parents. And I didn't care. I was like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna make this happen, and I'm going to, you know, really make a name for ourselves. I'm gonna get us back to where we used to be. And I always kept remembering all the things I had accomplished. And so I made a decision, and needless to say, the event was 4 months away. Only 4 months. And I ended up deciding, I was like, okay, well, let's do it. And so we put like $2,000 down on using a credit card, and we ended up making it literally 3-4 days before is when we put the last down payment on it. And we ended up going, and that's actually where I ended up meeting Abraham. And by that summer, so a year from the time that I was living in my parents' basement, no, hopeless, just working at a job, serving people cookies, miserable, ended up creating a business that then generated 7 figures that next year. So it's not that challenging to change. We just have to believe in ourselves and continue to act on it. So that was me when I was at when I met Bob Proctor. That's actually his office. So I have a slide that has the definition of belief. Well, it's not the definition of belief, but essentially, under belief, but yeah. It appears there are regards of a commission by a higher authority to arrest any forward progress in a person's life beyond the person's level of belief. And these beliefs take their marching orders from the laws of the universe, essentially. Right? And when we believe something can be done, the mind will quickly and automatically find reasons and things to be able to make it happen. And the same thing, when we don't believe something can be done, our mind's going to find reasons and things to justify why it cannot be done. And so, there were so many times when there were so many things that kept coming up, my paradigm and my beliefs, it doubted me. It was like, how the heck? I never made that much money in that short a period of time. I was only like 21 years old, or 22. And so it was like, how can that even happen? But you know what? I made a decision and I believed in myself and I kept acting and pushing through, and therefore I was able to make that $35,000. But I very easily could have went to the disbelief, which so many people don't believe in themselves, right? That goes back to the self-image and how we see ourselves, right? Because the world in which we are experiencing is only a direct reflection of where we're thinking from and who our identity is, right? We then experience the people, the places, every single thing in our life is in direct harmony with where we're thinking from and where we believe. So it's the moment we shift, the moment we change. It was the moment I changed within myself that I went from living in my parents' basement, miserable, hating my life, to then being able to create a very successful media agency. So remember, when you're looking at your life, if you don't like where it's at, that's okay. Now the thing is you need to do is make a decision right now that you are going to change and get crystal clear on what it is you want. What do you want to create? What do you want to experience? Because guys, this is the only life we got so far as we know. So we need to make the most of it and live it and experience it fully. Not to what other people want us to do, not what our parents want us to do, what we want to do. What do you want to experience and create in this life? Because guess what? It takes one decision and one shift and then just actions and taking those steps every single day. And before you know it, it's your reality.